Taehyung, J-Hope, and Namjoon made their star appearance at W Korea's 20th annual Love Your W breast cancer awareness campaign. There was something about their presence that transcended the visual, something that turned every step into a moment worthy of admiration. His elegance needed no introduction, his aura filled the room with a magnetic calm, and his beauty, beyond any possible description, seemed sculpted for eternity. As always, Taehyung stole every glance. No words could do justice to his aura or the way he effortlessly commands attention. By his side, Namjoon and J-Hope radiated confidence and warmth, the three of them forming a perfect image of style, talent, and charisma. Words will never be enough to describe Taehyung's essence. His elegance is effortless, his poise impeccable, and his presence leaves a mark that time cannot erase. Taehyung embodies the balance between class and sensuality, a blend so precise that only he could pull it off so effortlessly. On this occasion, his outfit was the most talked about topic of the night. Every detail of his look, from the texture of the fabric to the perfect drape of his custom jacket, seemed to speak of an artist who not only wears fashion, but transforms it into expression. Many in the audience and the media agreed, Taehyung not only sets trends, but redefines what it means to be elegant. His jacket, tailored especially for him, was the second uniquely designed piece he wore in a W Korea campaign. It was impossible to look away, that blend of mystery and warmth shone brighter than the spotlight itself. The same could be said of JUNGKOOK, who, although not present on the red carpet, was part of the conversation in every corner of the fandom. JUNGKOOK has said on more than one occasion that Taehyung is the most beautiful man he's ever seen, and his words ring true when one contemplates Taehyung in moments like these. The mutual admiration between them is palpable, even when they're not on the same stage. It's as if an invisible cord binds them together, a thread that doesn't need to be shown because everyone feels it. Taekook's followers know there's no event, trip, or project where one isn't somehow present in the other. It's not about visible signs or gestures, but about that silent connection that transcends time and distance. No matter where they are or what they're doing, their thoughts seem to meet halfway. That's Taekook's magic, a bond that doesn't depend on what's shown, but on what's felt. Over the years, that connection has not only not weakened, but has grown. They've learned to sustain themselves amidst the rumors, to love each other without needing to constantly show it, and to let their gestures, looks, and silences speak for them. No matter how loud the clowns bark, someone might say with laughter, Taekook is still as in love as ever. Their story needs no defense, because it stands on its own, with the strength of authenticity and perseverance. That night, Taehyung didn't just represent beauty, elegance, and art. He represented strength, sensitivity, and love in all its forms. His presence was a reminder that true light doesn't need to compete with anyone, it simply shines. And when it comes to Taekook, that light is double, because even in the distance, they continue to beat to the same rhythm, united by that invisible bond that neither time nor fame have been able to break. Taehyung's story yesterday, with Bert and Ernie in that tender description, "It's okay, Pat," was much more than a simple gesture. It was a clear, firm, and purposeful message, a silent but powerful way of letting us know that everything is fine with him and JUNGKOOK. There's something deeply fascinating about the way Taekook communicates his world to us, not with explicit words, but with symbols, with small details that seem innocent but hide a whole universe of meaning. Taehyung, in his free and artistic essence, has been more active on social media lately, leaving traces, clues, gestures that spark curiosity and excitement among those of us who follow them closely. Returning to Bert and Ernie's message, it's impossible not to notice the symbolic depth behind this reference. These two characters, icons of the classic show Sesame Street, have for decades represented a sincere, affectionate, and, for many, openly loving relationship. In an interview with the blog Queerty, screenwriter Mark Saltzman confessed that he wrote Bert and Ernie inspired by his own relationship with his partner, film editor Arnold Glassman, who was his companion until his death in 2003. Since then, the way the characters interact has been interpreted as a subtle way of showing love between two men. It's no coincidence that after the legalization of same-sex marriage in 2013, the New Yorker magazine used them on its cover, embracing in front of the television, celebrating that historic advancement of rights. Therefore, Taehyung's choice of Bert and Ernie in particular can't be a random act. It's a choice laden with meaning, a message that goes far beyond the surface. That gesture is Taehyung's way of speaking without speaking, of expressing without having to explain. And if we look at the pattern, he does it constantly, through visual metaphors, cultural symbols, and small doses of tenderness hidden between the lines. Furthermore, we can't forget that this isn't the first time Taekook has reflected on the figures of Bert and Ernie. On multiple occasions, even JUNGKOOK's brother has made similar references, reinforcing the symbolic connection they have both maintained so consistently. There's something admirable about how they do it. They never impose their message, they simply leave it there, hoping that whoever wants to understand, will understand. Because Taekook not only speaks to us through his gestures, but also teaches us a different way of loving, one that needs no explanation, one that is sustained by connection in mutual faith. Every shared glance, every synchronized movement, every aesthetic or symbolic choice in his posts seems to tell a story of deep understanding. It's as if they both share a private language, an invisible code that is revealed only to those who truly follow them with an open heart. And that's what keeps the magic alive, the feeling that there is something beyond, something real, something that transcends the screen. In that sense, his support for the LGBTQ community has been constant and genuine. It's not just about gestures, but about representations, visibility, and respect. They've known how to use their position to normalize diversity, to show that love can exist in many forms, and that all are valid and worthy. It's moving to think they do this without making speeches, but through art, aesthetics, and authenticity. Everything is before our eyes, expressed so beautifully and intelligently by Taekook, that one can't help but feel admiration. They don't seek to provoke, but to inspire. They don't try to convince, but to connect. Every detail, every post, seems like a silent invitation to see beyond appearances, to trust in what vibrates naturally. Because those of us who follow them with faith and affection understand that these aren't theories, but rather a genuine connection between two souls that reflect each other. That's why each message from them is a kind of promise, a reminder that all is well, that they are still together, growing and communicating in their own way. And when everything seems confusing or uncertain, Taekook always finds a way to remind us that they are still there. Therefore, trusting them is not a blind act, but a conscious choice based on years of clear signals and mutual understanding. There are many people who might interpret this as a simple game, like a story fabricated for the cameras or a carefully rehearsed script. But when you look closely at the way they look at each other, the way they touch each other, the way they approach each other without fear, no matter who is watching, it becomes clear that this is not an act. There is something in their gestures that transcends any script, a truth that escapes the lights and the stages. What happens between them needs no explanation, it is a connection that is felt more than understood, that is perceived even in silence. And Taekook doesn't need words to tell his story, because his language is made of glances, subtle touches, and smiles that seek each other out even when they shouldn't. JUNGKOOK, on more than one occasion, has said that Taehyung is the most beautiful man he has ever seen. And when you observe the way he looks at him, the way his eyes light up just by being near him, his words cease to be a simple quotation and become a silent declaration of admiration. There's something almost magnetic between them, an invisible current that seems to unite them even though they're on opposite sides of the stage. They don't need to touch to notice it. A glance, a minimal gesture, a held breath is enough. The air is filled with a sweet tension, as if the entire world had stopped for a few seconds to contemplate them. The mutual admiration between them is palpable, even when distance separates them physically. It's as if an invisible cord keeps them connected, a thread that we all witness but only they understand. In every performance, in every shared moment, that connection reappears with the same force, effortlessly, naturally, inevitably. There's no acting possible when the body reacts instinctively, when the soul anticipates any thought. If one moves, the other follows. If one smiles, the other responds. These are small gestures, but charged with meaning, as if synchronized by something deeper than habit or friendship. In many recorded moments, they have been seen sharing a space of their own, one in which they don't seem to need words to understand each other. It's a silent language, full of nuances, where a simple touch of the arm can say more than 1,000 words. Sometimes just seeing how they search for each other in the crowd, how their bodies lean slightly toward each other, is enough to understand that there's something that can't be faked. They do it without thinking, without worrying about the cameras, without calculating their movements. And that naturalness is what gives them away, what makes every viewer, conscious or not, perceive that something real is happening before their eyes.